Hello, Johannes Ayres reporting for Metaversal Lightcraft, Saturday, January 16th. Johannes, I hear some of you asking, what do meteorites represent in astrology? Well, on Thursday, the same day that asteroid DA14 made its closest path to our planet, an upstart meteorite entering the atmosphere from the other direction blazed across the Siberian sky, burning its spectacular image into the collective consciousness. Scientists say it's not connected, just a coincidence. DA14 was too small to see with the naked eye, even at its closest approach around 2:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. By comparison, NASA estimated that the meteor that exploded over Russia was much smaller, about 49 feet wide. This is indeed very rare and historic, said Jim Green, NASA's director of planetary science, but it is nothing more than a coincidence. These fireballs happen once a day or so. We just don't see them because many of them fall over the ocean. This one was an exception. In 1944, when he was 68 years old, Carl Jung slipped on an icy road and broke his ankle. This led to a severe heart attack, and while hovering between life and death, Jung experienced curious visions, in one of which he was hovering above the Earth out in space, when he saw a kind of Hindu temple inside of a meteor. Hindu temple inside of a meteor. Kind of Hindu temple inside of a meteor. Hindu temple inside of Night after night, he continued to have the same vision, floating in a state of pure bliss, and he was convinced that if he recovered, his doctor would have to die. And in fact, the doctor died just as Jung started to recover. The result of these strange experiences was that Jung ceased to be concerned about whether his contemporaries regarded him as a mystic rather than a scientist, and he ceased to make a secret of his lifelong interest in the occult. In 1949, he wrote about the acasual connecting principle, called synchronicity. In the following year, he wrote his paper on synchronicity, later expanded into a book. Unfortunately, Jung's fundamental premise in both these works is basically nonsensical. Western science, he says, is based on the principle of causality, but modern physics is shaking this principle to its foundations. We now know that natural laws are merely statistical truths, and that therefore we must allow for exceptions.
The rule is jam tomorrow and jam yesterday, but never jam today.
It must come sometimes to jam today, Alice objected.
No, it can't,
said the Queen.
It's jam every other day. Today isn't any other day, you know.
I don't understand you, said Alice. It's dreadfully confusing.
That's the effect of living backwards,
the Queen said kindly.
It always makes one a little giddy
at first. Living backwards, Alice repeated in great astonishment. I've never heard of such a thing.
But there is one great advantage in it, that one's memory works both ways.
I'm sure mine only works one way, Alice remarked. I can't remember things before they happened.
It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards,
the Queen remarked.
A little giddy.
In formulating his synchronicity principle, Jung was influenced to a profound degree by the new physics of the 20th century, which had begun to explore the possible role of consciousness in the physical world. Physics, wrote Jung in 1946, has demonstrated that in the realm of atomic magnitudes, objective reality presupposes an observer, and that only on this condition is a satisfactory scheme of explanation possible. This means, he added, that a subjective element attaches to the physicist's world picture. And secondly, that a connection necessarily exists between the psyche, to be explained, and the objective space-time continuum. These discoveries not only helped loosen physics from the iron grip of its materialistic worldview, but confirmed what Jung recognized intuitively, that matter and consciousness, far from operating independently of each other, are in fact interconnected in an essential way, functioning as complementary aspects of a unified reality.
depend upon other conditions, they depend upon their desires, their ambitions, depend upon other people, because they have no value in themselves, they have nothing in themselves, they are only rational, and they are not in the possession of a treasure that would make them independent. But when that girl can hold that experience, then she doesn't depend anymore. She cannot depend anymore because that value is in herself. And that is a sort of liberation. Yeah? And that is, of course, makes her complete, you know. Inasmuch as she can realize such a luminous experience, she is able to continue her path, her way, her individuation. The acorn can become an oak and not a donkey. The archetype is a force, it has an autonomy. It can suddenly seize you. It is like a seizure.
Yes.
So, for instance, falling in love at first sight, that is such a case. You see, you have a certain image in yourself without knowing it of the woman, of the woman.
Yes.
Now you see that girl, or at least a good imitation of your type, and instantly you get a seizure, and you're gone. Yeah. And afterwards you may discover that it was a hell of a mistake. Or you see, a man is quite capable, he's intelligent enough to see that that woman of his choice, as one says, not no choice, he has been captured.
Yeah.
You know, he sees that she's no good at all, that she's a hell of a business. And he tells me so, and he said, for God's sake, doctor, help me to get rid of that woman. He can't. He's like clay in her fingers. And that is the archetype. That is so-called archetype of the animal.
Yes, yes.
He thinks it is all his soul, you know. Like the girls, you know, when a man sings very high, then he thinks he must have a very wonderful spiritual character because he can sing the high C. And she's badly disappointed when she marries that particular number.